Hello everyone and welcome to It's Tomorrow News. I'm your host Hina Talati. 22nd April is famed as World Earth Day and it has been celebrated internationally to increase the public awareness of the Earth's climate and environment. Today, every nation is involved in the celebration of this salient day. We often celebrate this day to make ourselves aware that how much we are dependent on the natural resources for a livelihood that we can't even imagine a single day without it. As being a respected and a viable earthlings, let us remember our duty and think what can we do for our planet? How can we make our planet flourish every single passing year? What is expected from us is to care for and preserve our earth and pamper it like our baby, and of course the natural environment by taking those steps that can make our planet thrive not only for us but for our future generations too. Let them also enjoy the fruits that our earth produces. This year the theme of the Earth Day is Invest in Our Planet. And the theme itself explains how stakeholders and policymakers can invest in our climate, helping us to mitigate the local changes and promote more adaptation. For Earth Day 2022, we need to act boldly, broadly, and equitably. It's going to take all of us. It's like a partnership for the planet between the businesses, governments, and citizens. Everyone is accounted for and everyone is definitely accountable. Climate change plays a crucial role in deteriorating the corals, a beneficial yet threatening species of our oceans. Corals maintain a balance in the oceanic ecosystem, but it is hindered by the uncontrolled anthropogenic activities. To explain this, we have with us Dr. Johar. Dr. Johar is an associate professor and coordinator of wildlife biology and conservation at the Department of Zoology, School of Sciences, Gujarat University. He has been accolades with the various academic awards like Dr. V.C. Shah Gold Medal for University First in MSc. Welcome Dr. Johar and let's listen what you have to say.
Yeah, so thank you very much for giving me a chance to share my knowledge of corals. So corals are very fantastic marine animals. So they are sessile, means they cannot move. They are invertebrate, they do not have a vertebral column, and they are included in phylum called Cnidaria. So corals are basically multicellular, but the differentiation of cells is not like the tissues that we have. So the tissues are really very less distinct. They form colonies, and these colonies form then massive reefs in the ocean. So the individual or unit of these colonies is known as a polyp. So this structure, the corals, they make an exoskeleton which is made up of calcium carbonate. So everyone always remember coral having a very beautiful colors. So these colors are produced because of its symbiotic relationship with the algae, which is called symbiolium. Usually, because this is symbiotic and this is an algae, and that produces a food which is used by the corals also. And the corals in return provide shelter to this algae. So it's a mutual relationship. So that's why corals are usually found up to the depth, till the light goes into the ocean. Yeah, there are some corals which doesn't need any symbiotic association, and they can be found even at a greater depth also. Okay, so there are a lot of these different types of corals are there. Now these corals, they form this huge reef. So this is a very large ecosystem. Okay, so if you combine the whole area of these reefs, so this will become almost equal to that of a nation of France. So that's such a huge area they are occupying. Not only that, 25% of all marine organisms are located in this reef region only. So that means they are very important biology hotspots and biodiversity hotspots, particularly for the aquatic life. More than 4,000 types of fishes are found in the reefs only, and there are more than 700 different types of corals in the world. And if you include other organisms besides fish and the corals, then there are tens of thousands of other organisms in these. Now, the corals, they grow very, very slowly, and that's one of the major problems in restoring them. So they grow just 1 centimeter every year. So, besides that, they are also very important in the other ecosystems of our oceans, particularly the mangroves and sea grasses. So they are working with a mutual relationship with the other ecosystems of. So you must have heard about a lot of coral reefs which are very famous, like that the Great Barrier Reef of the Australia. In India also, we are very fortunate to have a lot of coral reefs. Our Andaman and Nicobar Islands, they have a very huge coral reef. The Lakshadweep Islands are basically made up of different types of coral reefs and atolls and all these structures. We also have a lot of coral reef in our Gujarat, that is particularly in the Gulf of Kutch. Okay, so particularly the Pirotan Island and Narara Beach, and some places where you can see coral reef, corals while walking, which is not possible anywhere else. So that's very fortunate. Besides that, the corals are also found in the Gulf of Munnar at the Tamil Nadu coast. So in India, there are about 199 species of corals are found. So the coral reef, they does very important functions for our earth and for us also. Coral reefs are very important in the coastline protection. So they actually, reduces the flow of the waves which is coming directly to the coastline. If these coral reefs are not there, the coasts, so they will erode. So that's why they are very important. Another very important function of the coral reefs, that they filter the water. The other very important functions are also there because they are constantly absorbing this calcium carbonate. They are one of the very important and significant sink for the carbon dioxide that we are producing. If the corals are not there, there will be a problem. So the carbon dioxide, most of the carbon dioxide that we are producing is getting absorbed in the ocean. So one of that goes to this coral, so that won't be there then. And so there will be a huge spike in the atmospheric carbon dioxide. Besides that, wherever the corals are found, like in Mauritius or in the Lakshadweep Islands or wherever. So these are very important tourism places. These are very important centers for the recreation activities and for their aesthetic values. They have their own cultural, heritage, and coral plays a very significant role in their cultural heritages. Besides that, recent research has shown that corals do harbor a lot of different chemicals which can have a application in the human disease prevention, and that's why many people refer these corals as a medicine chest of the sea. So that's very significant. Now the corals are at present at a threat. So what happens that when the conditions are unfavorable, so that symbiotic algae is expelled out of the corals. So that symbiotic relationship is broken, and once it is broken, the corals are not able to survive. and because of that it loses its color and it loses its life also, and that will lead to discoloration of the corals, and that phenomenon is known as the coral bleaching. Okay, so this coral bleaching essentially is the death of these corals. Okay, so it is estimated that more than 10% of world corals have already died. And 60 to 75% of these corals are already considered to be endangered. And if we are not doing anything, so by then 2030, more than 50% of these corals will be dead or bleached. And then by 2015, we might lose all of our corals. So therefore, we need to become, very conscious about our corals. So, you must have this question that what is this problem to the corals, right? So, corals, one of the most important things, as I said just before, that they are growing just 1 centimeter in a year. So, that's why restoring them is really a very big problem. Okay, so let us first understand, so what are the threats? Now, one of the most significant threats is the one echinoderm, starfish, which is called crown. So these crowns, they are feeding on the corals. So its stomach actually basically comes out of their mouth, and then they engulf the coral, and then they release all the gastric juices and all that, and that essentially digests the entire, a branch of the patella. Yeah, it's their food. Now, this problem is again created by man only. So, these crowns, so when they are, young, or they are in a larval stage, so these are eaten up by Titan snails. So it's a kind of snail. It's a huge, that's why it is called the Titan snail. So we are harvesting these Titan snails for their sale, actually, basically. And that's why their number have plummeted. And because of that, the number of these crowns have increased. And that is causing the increased, predation on the corals. Particularly these crowns are the biggest risk to the, Great Barrier Reef corals. Then, there is a kind of, periodic exposure to various things. Okay, some of them are natural and some of them are artificial also. So they are creating pressure on the corals. Then another very important thing which is affecting the growth of the coral is the pounding pressure of the water. So this may happen due to lots of tides, various types of storms which is coming into the ocean, and they also cause a lot of pounding, pressure on the corals. And there is a bioerosion. So naturally they die. Okay? And that's how, these are the natural way corals are affected. But there are a lot of man-made, problems also, which you may say is an anthropogenic kind of threats. So mining is one of the important things. If you go to some of the rich nations, people, they make their home out of corals. So these coral blocks are made, and those blocks are used as, bricks, and then they make their homes. So that's mining activity, and the corals do accumulate a lot of other chemicals, and that's why also they are made. Another very important is the construction activities. So we are constructing a lot of things even in the ocean, like we are spreading fiber optic cables or pipelines or like that. So they are also destroying the corals. Yeah, one of the major reasons for the depletion of the coral is pollution. So what happens that we may use, polluting agent even on the land. Okay. So when the rain falls, so this goes to river, and from river it goes to the sea. So this is called all surface runoff pollution. So that finally aggregates on the shoreline and where these corals are located. So they affect the corals most actually. This is because the corals are basically a filter feeding kind of organism. So they are, passing lot of water through them. So along with that, lot of these polluting agents, they also gather into the coral and that kills them. Tourism, if it is not controlled properly, then they also become a threat to the corals. And that's what's been already observed. So because most of these coral reefs are at present, a major site for the tourism. Then boats. So boats, the human activity, like the boat, we are carrying the boat into the sea and ocean. So they are also generating a kind of pounding, pressure on the corals, and that is killing the corals. Besides that, the boat releases lot of kinds of oils, and that also, seeps into the corals, and then it causes the problem. Another very important reason is the depletion in the area of the mangroves, which is located on the coast, and the sea grasses. So they are mutually related with the coral. Exactly, we don't know that how they are interdependent, but yes, they are related with each other. And many people, they collect corals, and they want to keep these corals in their aquarium. Okay, someone wants to, put it as a, kind of showpiece. So that also harms coral. In fact, we are using corals as a beads, a precious stone, like what we say, the stone which we use it as a mass stone. Okay, that is actually a red coral. So that is also one kind of, use of the coral, and that is responsible for the depletion of the coral. Now, at present, the biggest threat to the coral is climate change. So the climate change is one of the very important factor at present, which is responsible for the bleaching of the coral. So climate change, we all know that climate change leads to the rise in the sea level. So when the sea level rises, the photosynthetic activity which is going on in these corals, that gets hampered. And that's why that is considered one of the important reasons for the bleaching of the corals. Now, because of climate change, as you know, or as your channel always reports, that there are a lot of storms coming. So these storms, they create a very huge pounding pressure on the corals, and that kills the corals instantaneously. Another reason is we are releasing this lot of gases in our environment. So they finally dissolve in the air, and then finally they end up into the ocean, and that causes acidification of the ocean. Now these acids dissolves that calcium carbonate cell of the corals, and that's why corals becomes, susceptible to many different things, and that's why they die. Another very important thing which recently, people have described is the depletion in the ozone. So because the ozone is depleting, so lots of UV rays are going, and those UV rays are also affecting the corals and the reef. So in this way, the climate change, is becoming one of the important threat to the corals. Now these corals, as I said, that they are occupying such a big area, and we are using it for various different purposes. These are also very important, sites for ecology. So because there are a lot of fishes there, so that's also end up into this economy. The tourism is also there, the recreation activities are also there. So if you count all these together, if you sum up, so this goes beyond $30 billion. So that's a very big economy, basically. Is equal to, more than certain smaller countries. 500 million of people, they are living in the vicinity of the corals. Means I want to say that about 100 kilometers from the corals. And corals, they contribute some and other way to their economy. Okay, so this includes a lot of our main, bigger cities also. So that's why the corals are very important for economy, and that's why lot of the developed nations and even our India. So we are putting our efforts in restoring this coral. Now the major hurdle in restoring the coral is its growth. So it grows just 1 centimeter in a year. So that's actually very little. Okay, so we won't be able to anyway cover up what is being already lost. So that's why the scientists of USA and Israel and India have developed a lot of different varieties of corals which can grow 50 times faster than what it is growing in the nature. And they are making what is called the coral farms kind of structures. Okay, so where they are using a special kind of substratums and they are seeding the corals there and then they grow very easily. And they have made a lot of hybrid varieties of corals, or they have merged more than one species of coral. And the aim is that we have a coral which grows very fast as well as which are resistant to the, some of the effects of pollution and the climate change and all that. So basically, if this coral saving activity, if it is associated with the economy, then it will be, taking place more frequently. So that's why people are now thinking of developing corals as a sustainable, in a sustainable way. So that is called the sustainable development. So we want to stabilize a lot of different parts in the ocean where we are growing the corals. So because of corals, a lot of other organisms, species and others, they will come there. So that will become a hot spot for tourism activity, recreation activity, and also they can be a major sites for fishery also. So if we use them in a sustainable way, then that can be a very good resource, a natural resource. So that's what it is called, the growth of coral for the profit purpose. And that's what my, message to you, all listeners is this, that we should, have a sustainable development of coral, as well as we should always try to minimize. So whatsoever we are doing, because that is finally ending up into the ocean. So that's why please reduce, use of those, things and chemicals which can harm the coral. So that little things will help, add up. So that is my final message.
Thank you, Dr. Johar, for such a perfect session. Your knowledge in this field is tremendous, and we hope that most have enlightened our spectators and adherents, those who have watched our show. I am sure that they all must have benefited from the session. Thank you, Dr. Johar, for coming to the show, and thank you everyone for watching us. We have lined up more such interviews and sessions with our various polymaths. If you have liked the show, kindly like, share and subscribe, and let us know in the comment section. If you have any questions regarding the subject, mention it in the comment box or email us at info@nanoland.us and it will be answered by the experts. Thank you all.